All right. Yes. You know, today's a special day, man. 2 days. I'm gonna call it two things. That's one, no secrets. You know, it's confirmation. Confirmation that I needed. And Lord of the Rings. Woo! Lord of the Rings. That thought wouldn't come to mind. It's just something that overwhelmed me today during meditation after, you could say, 2 months of hell, you know? Not really hell. Only hell you have is what you have in your mind. That's my hell, trying to solve the riddles of life, the mysteries of life. So, let's get into this. I've been doing this little astral traveling and going into other worlds, especially, with the internet being off. I've been spending a lot of time being able to go into these worlds and learning it and finding out what it is and how it works. A lot of it has to do with our pituitary gland and our pineal gland. They in like a relationship where you see like the Gemini twins, a male and a female. Hello, how you doing? It's like in a portal. It's a circular cell. And this cell, we interpret it as the dragon because on different frequencies it assumes different image look to it. And it is the double-headed dragon. But, in the astral world now, it's actually the portal that you go through when you're going to different dimensions or seeing different aspects of your life. Now, the thing to this is, when you're doing these missions, you think you're traveling in many different worlds and you're going to, past and present lives and stuff like that. Well, I've been traveling the same like everybody else, but learning a lot more. But here it is. I really never paid full attention to everything in detail until recently when I was doing a meditation with my finger, recording it on the screen because son just told me to. And my cells started to separate and come, active. It's like you start seeing the cells in my finger, come. And I know I've been doing it myself. Yeah, I got videos telling you how I'm self-activating and other things of that method. But to actually see it on the video now coming into fruition is a different thing. So now that I'm seeing these cells actually separating from how we see them as just tissue, now they're forming actually little atoms or little circular spheres. So I put the video on. You should be seeing it around the same time this video posts. But now with that, it's where we travel through those cells. Your own cell, atom, whatever you want to call it. Now, these little things is important because when you're in the astral world, you can't see them. They all like a collage all together, pasting worlds upon image to make it like a fourth dimensional, 5-dimensional image. But for some reason, because I'm going through something with my little nephew in the astral world, and he been my teacher. I always tell y'all Michael's my teacher or whatever. Well, ever since he passed away, he been not just the association we got to learn each other, but he been there teaching me. And lately, it's just been kind of chaotic for me because his experiences, when he pop up, I could be in the middle of a meditation and he'll just pop up. And the shit be spooking the shit out of me every time he does that shit. So I've been uncomfortable with that, how he make his presentation. But, we're going to get into that in another form. But now, he comes and he's giving me my lessons or whatever the case may be. And it's been hard. It's been a struggle trying to, make sense out of everything and keep my mind from not being biased towards the situation. Is this right? Is this good? Is this evil? What is this? How come this guy is coming to me? He's supposed to pass on and move on. There's mad things run through you, some million things. But when somebody comes to you, you got to be able to aid them, help them, do something. You can't just turn your back on them or say, well, the law according to the Bible is you're not supposed to be here and I'm not supposed to. And we can't use that method, realistically speaking, when somebody's called upon. And you never know what you're going to do when it's your turn to face something. A person pull a gun on you or threaten you. You say you're going to do this or do that, but you don't know until the time comes. Now with that in mind, you know, our lessons has been difficult because of my two-minded self, my mundane material side, and actually not thinking, just doing, helping, whatever you feeling. You know, whether it be not helping. I'm not going to take it in either direction. The point is not thinking, just doing. So now on that part, it's like you have those two parts of you in the astral world, and half of it is constrained. Your thinking is mostly constrained, and you're just in a state of nirvana, of bliss, just doing. But sometimes you fall into starting to think, and that's what happened, you know. It's crazy. The bottom line is this. After upon all this conflict of, you know, we've been going through, I realized there's in this invisible air the same cells all over that make this reality real. And so in the astral, upon focusing to a certain extent, you can see the rings. So when you're traveling in the astral world, you could be thinking you're going on a straight path, but you're not. You're going probably a ring here, and it's a ring here, and it's interlocking rings, and then 2 to 3 rings running at one time. All these, yes, is running all that at the same time. So if you miss a ring, what's going to happen is you're not going straight no more. The ring you go through, like a circle, will misdirect you to go in another direction, even though it look like you're going straight, but you have to go through rings. That's the whole thing of the movie Lord of the Rings. I started to smile. I said, get the fuck out of here. This what this is? I got it. But it was the cell, looking at the cell on my finger in the video, that made my memory remember or recognize it. Once my memory remembered or recognized it, was like instantly I knew what to do. So now that image, that like if you're just looking behind me like this and I'm walking whatever direction, it wasn't the same anymore to me. I see the circles upon which steps I take to point me in what direction I'm going in. So now, the point is what I'm trying to make is sometimes you think you're going straight in the astral world and you pop up in this world or you pop up in that world. That's because you entered one of those cells. And it takes you in another direction other than the path you're going on. So, I don't know how everybody else is going to do it, but for me, it wind up ending up now with me saying, oh, I got it. So it was a test to see if I did get it. And all of a sudden, I'm coming out the rings. Like you see how I'm going forward here. But every time I take one step forward, it's like a ring that is coming out behind me. Every time I go one step forward, it's a ring coming out behind me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm backing out, backing out, backing out. And when I came out the last ring, my eyes was open. I was back in my room. And I said, that's how you do it. So what was happening all the other time? I was still in the ring. I mean, I opened my eyes and I'm there, but it was still over me. And I never knew that. So, think about it. Energy blockage. Personality disorders. Influences from different thoughts and everything. You could be in a part of your chakra or portal that you don't know you're in and don't know how to get out, but it's just going in a circle thinking everything is all good. You'll never know until you get to the next one or come to some type of observation that make everything change all of a sudden. And that's how life works, not just in how I see it in the astral and what I just went through. Now, you know, I thank the boy. I thank him, you know, because I had a lot of different judgments and actions and feelings towards him and didn't know what I was experiencing. It's like I was getting shaman lessons, but didn't want it, much less didn't know how to feel during it. And I'm going to pass those on. It's coming up in these videos next. You know, it's just going to be too long if I start my encounters with the passed away souls or the souls that leave the sheath body. That's all we're going to call it. You know what I'm saying? So this is the beginning. And the reason why we saying no secrets now. No secrets mean they're watching the Manly P. Hall video. And in the Manly P. Hall video, he's talking about the 7 fruit race. What's their attributes? Seven root rate attributes, they're going to have inner perception. They're going to see things inwardly, in the sense they're going to be far-sighted and nearsighted, but they're going to have a microscopic vision. They'll be able to control their nervous system. They can be able to control their will. They're not under nobody's destiny. They choose their destiny, and they can't die. We're the seventh root race. We control our heart. We control everything. I'm just telling y'all what's here. This is a man saying this in the 1940s of what's to come. We're here. It's not no aliens. It's not no entities. It's you. You have to know who you are and what you're capable of doing and how the system works. A long time ago, we lost this thing called nature science, where they told us how nature worked, how to cause an effect upon it using our mind. But being that the mind is imbalanced, it has a problem. It has ways of seeing things its own way because of the ego. You got post-traumatic stress we all went through some point in our life that created these splits in our personalities. It's these things that we first have to deal with as shadows. You know, a great person who talk about it is C.J. Jung. You know, he tell you if you don't unite with your shadow side, it's like you're unconscious. You have something inside of you that is a raging beast that's ready to let loose, and it's just pacing back and forth, waiting its turn. And so all of us have this inside of us, but yet we act like we don't. And acting like we don't is the prison that contain it until something happened and we wind up popping off. You know, you can't get in the higher astral world with that buried in you. Your shadow is there with you. It's follow you when you walk. You have to accept it and learn it and see what it wants. It knocks too, like an emotion. That's what an emotion is. Your emotion is your shadow self. I mean, you express the love through hugging and affection and stuff like that. You express your hate too, punching people in the face, hating them, fuck you and all that. But you never express the mids and in-between ones, the subconscious ones, the ones that you act out of, the ones that compel you to be a certain way. Those are the ones that we have to pay attention to, because those what make you stand, move, and do things. And if you don't realize it, other people realize it, and they use it to take leverage over you. And you probably don't know why you're doing things, and it's just doing them, including why you working, why you struggling for money, why you buying a house, why you getting a family, why you doing all these things. Is it just because, or you really plotted it out and this, what you're doing right now, this is what you want to do. This is like your pinnacle. You planned that, what you're doing, and said, this is it for me. And then your next plan is to keep doing it to accumulate more. That's your plan. Well, everybody has their plan, but that's not a plan. That's an implanted thought. It was there already. You didn't put that there. But you got to understand what's going on. So all these concepts now I'm giving you is these things that if we don't find first soul redemption and financial redemption, we can never seek them. This is all minds. Mind is thought. Your thought, it actually make who you are. If you isolate a thought to be just one thing, you will see that what you have is an entity. It's not actually, I don't know what we think it is, an image. Because thought is the same thing as vibration. When you start to think, if I tell you to say your name inside your head, you can do that. Say your name right now inside your head. If you heard yourself, say it again. Say it louder. You sure you said it? All right, so let me ask you, how could you hear yourself and you didn't move your lips and yet you didn't vibrate the ear to hear it? But you heard yourself. So if you can hear yourself without moving your lips and even hearing it through the air, that means something is inside of you that is not a part of you. You can't be those objects inside of you like your body if you're not hearing with your ear and you're not using your mouth to say your name to hear. So you're not where you think you are, or you're not what you think you is. That's the first step. Now the second step is to realize that being that sound is vibration and you're vibrating inside of yourself psychically, that's what thoughts is. It's a vibration. So this vibration not just only have a vibrationatory frequency, it has a color and it has a form to it, an image. You can't see those because it vibrates a faster frequency than we can see. So thoughts is actually images on a subatomic level. And so if you don't understand what your thoughts is and how influences they are, what they have on you, you wouldn't understand the concept of advertising and marketing and promotion to get people to program them to buy their products. It's the same thing. They think it up and put a image to it and sell it to you. Your TV has a symbol, and behind the symbol they bury a pulse. It's a low frequency pulse that triggers your subconscious with the image too to push it in. And so they bury spirits inside of you through that way. It's simple. You understand? It's thought images. Everything is thought. So if you can't curb your thought, you wouldn't be able to function in communities back in the ancient African days and tribal days, or in Egypt or Kemet. You know, that's why everybody was selected and the whole community had to think what one, the law system was one, because they mastered the law of the cause and effect of life. And we lost that during the Renaissance period when all the different skimmages started coming up with the church. It was about getting rid of magic because the priest was also the black magician and the preacher and the doctor and the astrologist, the scientist and the surgeon and the barber. So, you know, they had to break all of this up, and so they made up science. They sent out a big expedition all around the world to go take a data of everything recorded on this planet, because they're going to tell you what it is now with a new definition, because you can't use that earth magic no more, or nature magic, God science. So they started mapping it out. That's where you get your story of Christopher Columbus now on his discovery shit, and also backing up Queen Elizabeth and Ferdinand as the backup troop for the war that was taking place against the Moors. They was getting the last of the Moors out. Now, being that they're getting the last of the Moors out, I got a question. And it's not kind of being funny, but you notice they didn't actually keep the Moors and hold them as prisoners, as POWs. You know, similar to what you could say they semi-did with the Indians, where a few of them was able to get on a reservation or something. In reality, they actually exterminated really everybody that they came to their land to conquer. And there's a law of conquer too. That a law of conquer said, like, if I discovered this land, I have the right to it, even though you're on it. So this was a great law or creed they wrote themselves called the law of conquer, and they used it to take over whatever they was encountering under the name of science. So now you got the Moors, like I'm telling you about now. That was the actual last fight we was taking place with Spain and really Europe, but it wound up spinning all over to Portuguese, because at that time the Moors ran the whole world. They took over every place. There wasn't no way that they wasn't having no island that wasn't inhabited by them and under their control, but they took it from. They're the Egyptians. The Moors is the Egyptians. You understand? But they're the Kemetic high priests that wind up having to leave, and because Egypt was sacked. You understand? It was sacked plenty of times. So they all was part of diaspora that became the Gypsies, that became the Phoenicians, that became mad different people in different culture. You tell by their mysticism who they are. You understand? So with that in mind now, with the world in a state of chaos and them now seeking out in Europe to destroy the actual spirituality and create science, they wind up destroying all the temples, all the natural information, and all the people, like the Moors, who was actually Kundalini babies that had a process of activating through intelligence, through knowledge, through reading the books of Solomon and the Gotia and necromancy and all that stuff. So once they was able to put a cap on that stuff, they dumbed down science, they dumbed down it through education, and only gave you information that's in reference to work, labor. They never gave us no information as far as reference to ourselves and actually wisdom and how the world works and why you should be here in ascension. Those stuff they took now and kept it in foreign books, German books. I came across these books because I was studying and researching what I was going through, which was a Kundalini awakening, which was a very powerful one because it made me see into other worlds off the gate that I could not fathom for a while to make sense out of. So now, these led me to start looking for books on like subjects that could help me. And I only found it in Egyptian books and like very little bit of it because the way that the Jesuit priests, because they're the Egyptologists, advisors, you could say, that really is the creators, but they're just the advisory boards to the Egyptologists that tells them what should be said and what shouldn't be said. They actually was the first to go inside the pyramids that I started reading from this guy named Athena's Ketcher. If you look up Athena's Ketcher now, you will see he became one of the world's smartest men as far as what they say now. And he wrote a lot of books like in his German language. And all these books have everything to do with Egypt. It breaks down what everything does as far as the symbols and the signs, and it's nothing like how we see it. Now, I don't think they ever translated the German book itself. Which one I like was this one called Mundo Subterraneous. It's in German, but the images you can see is all of Egypt. Everything of the Kemetic science of the Egyptian Meta Nature is laid out, interpreted, explained in a very, very detailed, very big book. And not just in Mundo Subterraneous, it's a whole bunch of books. Like he got one called Agripptos, Apocalypsos, about Egypt. And so you could just Google his PDF book and just look at the pictures in there. If you look at the pictures in there, you will just see straight up all the Egyptian stuff. You wonder, what is this doing in Romania and Germany, all these places, translated when we still thinking they're hieroglyphs meaning life and this is a god. No, they're doing some deep mystical science and magic with all that stuff. And it explains the elements, the entities, the aliens, the beings. There's no aliens, but that's what you would call them because they're all a part of nature. They're nature spirits. There's a whole bunch of them. And so this was already mapped out by the Egyptians and the gods and how the gods work. And they already made it into science that the Druids, the Celtics, the Scythians, all these people kept in secret books. These secret books was never given to us, and that's where you get the Illuminati now, who wind up fighting with the rest of the Coptic people and knocking off the last of the people who did it, which was literally the Christians. You understand? Not these Christians, the original Gnostic Christians who's Coptic, who's Egyptians, the Egyptian priests. This was a war that took place between them because it's, oh my God, it gets so deep. It gets very deep. This got to do with the priesthood of Ra and them being overthrown and all the money now being passed to the same two letters as Rothschild, as Rothschild. That's the high priest society of Ra that took the money. Ra is Jehovah. And the same thing, that Ra went to Rockefeller too. Rockefeller is the same Thoth. You see, when you say Thoth, Rothschild, Shield, it's the same thing. It's all talking about, it's Egyptian talk. And we don't understand it. We get it all twisted. So that's money fueled down from tips passed on from Egypt time that was donated to that family to continue their tyranny upon everybody under that name now. That's not their names. You know that's not their last names. But they use that as their corporate entity to do business under, using that money. That's unlimited money. They stole from, not saying they stole it, I can't give you the exact detail, but that's the tip money of all the high priests of Egypt. Now, this Thoth is thought, your thoughts. Your thoughts is actually now what we call Satan. Thoth is Satan. Because your thoughts is deceptive. Your thoughts mislead you. And until you cleanse yourself and have self-control, not just of your mind, but of your whole cognition, you don't understand anything, so your thoughts is going to be the most deceptive thing of all. So Thoth has always been associated with Satan until you purify yourself. So that's how you see it all aligned. Now, there's Egyptian god Thoth? No, your mind is Thoth and always was. When your mind start thinking, they called all of it together Thoth. How would I know this? Because all the high priests of Egypt, when you look in the books and the mystery books of E.A. Wells. Yes, Bubba, how you doing? All right. We're going to cut this short. But all the priests of Egypt, one name was Thoth. They didn't have one person named Thoth. Everybody was named Thoth. University of Conscious Science. One love.